How's it going, everyone? And as always, welcome back to Continues to Tick. So yes, friends, you saw the title. We've yet again reached another milestone video, the now new $60,000 Dividend Portfolio mark. Ultimately, this one was a grind, I'm not gonna lie to you. Not so much a snowball rolling down a hill, but more so, a boulder being hauled up one, on a single plank of wood or something. It's been an interesting 2022 in the finance world, to say the least, and I'm sure we can all relate in some way or another. But just to sum, for a milestone video, you know what's coming if you've been here before, but if you don't, let me remind you. In honor of reaching the new 60K dividend portfolio mark, I'll go over with you the many stats of the portfolio. That includes my specific strategy to begin with, then dive into my sector allocations and percentages, the green sectors in my portfolio, along with the poor performers. I'll go over the number of holdings in my portfolio's current dividend yield, my expense ratio, and of course, how much money the $60,000 dividend portfolio makes me in dividends. So let's begin. But first, you didn't think I'd forget, did you? So friends, I was actually thinking about it the other day. Life is the greatest race of all time. And crazy thing about it, there truly is no stopping point. Besides mortality, there's only forward progression or backwards movement. Life, or time, never sits still. It may feel like it, creating those boring moments, but sitting still, time? Life? No, never truly the case. Therefore, how you pace yourself in this life will always matter. Thus, a question to ask yourself often is what you're doing in this life sustainable? Because if it's not, you run the risk of stopping, falling into the trap of constant back and forth, no traction movement. True growth comes with always moving, finding ways to stay consistent, no matter how quick the pace. Slow and steady movement towards our goals, in my opinion, will always win in the end. Something that is sustainable, not sprints. Our life is the longest marathon you'll ever know. If you haven't seen people age in front of you, which I know we all have, you'd see it. You will see how we all end up one day, if we're lucky. So we must be systematically cautious as we navigate this life. No movement is no growth, and no growth equates to stagnation. However, it's the stagnation of who we are as people that will truly reveal no progression, no advancements, just the same person year after year. However, if only that were true, that wouldn't be too terrible, actually, being the same person year after year. But the reality is, if we remain stagnated, we aren't simply the same person every year. We are a worse person year after year. And that's because if we aren't moving forward, we are actually moving backwards. With every full year of life, we were provided the opportunity to become a better person. And if we remain unable to do so, we fall behind, a victim to lost time. And to this day, I don't think we figured out how to get that back. And then after a while of this process, we wonder why we feel so horrible, why the same person we see in the mirror makes us so unhappy, doesn't match what we desire, becomes unrecognizable, until we get to a vantage point in which it's now easier to just not make strides towards our goals, as any sort of movement at that point is just too progressively painful. So we just stay this way. I'm here to help you realize that no, this is not the route. We all can improve, and we need to do it today. Pick a weakness and address it. Pick another and address it. Is this money? Is it your physical body, your spirituality, your ability to love yourself? Is it your relationships? Each and every single flaw we carry, each and every single aspect of our lives we hope or wish to change or improve is just extra weight to carry in this life. And how on earth, friends, can you see clarity through carrying all of that? Clarity is needed in order to know where to look, how to react to every situation with purpose and intention, how to perform, where to go, how exactly to get there. For me, I know exactly where I'm going, friends. My habits today align with the future I desire, and this work excites me. But most importantly, I have so much clarity. I have so much planned to the T. I just need life to continue to tick, and I continue to hold the line and work this total alignment with my vision forward. One of my biggest flaws actually comes from this. Right now, and it always has been. It's that despite this path, reminding myself to still live for today and the day-to-day. But how about you, friends? Do you know where you're going? I carry flaws. I'm actively working on them. How many flaws are you carrying? How many areas of yourself do you wish to change? Life is so much better with less of these. If you're not the most efficient member in the room, with the clearest path to success, you become a part of your loved one's flaws. And sadly, you also will become a part of their problem. The very least we can ever do to those we care for is simply not get in their way by our inabilities. But a reality is, until we can truly not get in our own personal way, until we can truly heal ourselves, we will always be in the way of others. That's just how it is. At the very root, it can almost be this simple. Are we an asset to a room, or are we a liability to those we care about, including ourselves? Through self-reflection, see it this way. If we aren't helping ourselves, we are hurting ourselves. And if we aren't exactly where we want to be in this life, like right now, we need to improve and change. Don't be a liability to yourself. Strip everything that is getting in your way to becoming that best you. I'm actively working on this right now. It's called self-mastery, and it won't be until I can fully articulate what this looks like for myself that I'll be able to fully explain it to others. But in the meantime though, I'll continue to show you through my own personal actions, results, and the track record of these videos, week after week, what this slowly looks like over time. And now officially moving into the dividend stat portion of the video. Here we are in the Jesse's cash flow portfolio. As mentioned earlier, now crossing the 60K mark, currently at $60,110.56. And just to review overall the performance of the portfolio up to this point. As of this time, we have a total return of 21.65%, which equates to a total gain of the portfolio of $5,760.61. And if you look a little closer, you can see for market gain alone of this amount is $3,980. And from earned dividends, all-time earned dividends is $1,779.85. And just as a reminder, I started this dividend portfolio on July 20th of the year 2020. And ever since that time, my game plan has been to invest $500 every single week into this portfolio without fail. Another part of my strategy is to simply just not sell. So when I started this portfolio, I researched the stocks that I wanted to hold. And ever since that time, I've been limiting the amount of times that I do sell. And that is kind of the ultimate part of my strategy, is letting it ride with confidence. And as you can see here on this chart over time, we've progressively, systematically, have seen gains. And a big part of this portfolio, and the reason why I do it, is to in the future, never have to worry about money. I'm currently working as a registered nurse. I'm currently 26 years old. I work for the state of California, and I'm slowly building up a pension on the back end that I'm not touching. I really have no control over that. But this is one thing I do have control over. So the idea is with my pension and this dividend portfolio, and hopefully eventually some real estate on the side, I'll have a really nice cushy retirement. Something you guys would call a fat fire. I have some big dreams for myself in the future of what I want my future to look like. And I continue to align my habits today with that outcome. And I'm excited to continue to show this journey over time, just documenting it simply over time. And just to mention, because I haven't mentioned it in a while, I've noticed, if you're actually wanting to take a look at my portfolio in a deeper light, there's always a link down below in the description box. You can just click on that and it'll take you directly to my pie. And then from there, you can take a look at all the holdings that I actually have in my portfolio, one at a time, if you're curious. But now moving forward still, into my portfolio sector allocations. As you can see, this is how I have it broken up here. First, starting off with real estate. It's 13% of my portfolio, and it has provided a 15.83% total return. And then next up, I have consumer staples. It's at 12% of my dividend portfolio, and it has provided a 27.95% total return. And then third here we have tech, set at 10% of the portfolio, providing nearly a 31% return. And then we have the index fund, set at 10% of the portfolio, providing 10.44% total return. And next up here we have an ETF, also set at 10%, providing a 33% return. And then next up we have utilities, set at 10% as well, providing a return of 29.69%. And then next up I have financial, set at 9% of the portfolio, providing 18% return. And then we have industrials here at 8% of the portfolio, providing almost a 29% return. And then we have healthcare, set at 7% of the portfolio, providing a 9.8% return. And then here we have communications, our first one in the red. It's 5% of the portfolio, minus almost 26%. And then here we are, almost wrapping up now. We have energy at 3% of the portfolio, which is a 105% return. And then here we are with materials at 2%, pretty much flat for the most part, but slightly in the red. And then last but not least, we have 1% of the portfolio, and I could just show you this one because it's the same company every time. It never changes. It's my McDonald's. And then just to show you a little recap, just to take a look at some of the individual holdings that I have and some of the best or top performers, along with the worst performers, as we'll get to the bottom here. But as you can see, Exxon, Chevron are the two of the top performers in my portfolio. The tide may turn and these gains may decrease, and they likely will over time. But for now, we'll ride it, as both of them also clearly do provide a pretty nice dividend. And then as we make our way down, you can kind of see some of these top performers here. Apple's right here, providing a 22% return. And surprisingly enough, I just skipped over it. Waste Management, providing a 26% return. And as we continue to move down here, there's my McDonald's once again. Have Oracle here with the 7% return, Johnson & Johnson with almost a 6% return. And then Procter & Gamble here as well at 3%. And then now we get into the red here, the more interesting part. Starting at Sherwin-Williams, working our way down. We got 3M in here, JP Morgan Chase with the loss of 12%. And that stock, it's an interesting one to watch. I suggest if you hold it, and don't watch it too carefully. Sometimes it rides really good waves, and then sometimes it comes crashing back. So, and not crashing in a bad way, but in comparison to a lot of the other holdings I have in here, it's an interesting one to follow, that's for sure. But my worst performer is actually Comcast, and that's an interesting one. I've been asked before, why do I continue to hold it? Peacock's actually something new. It's kind of fun coming out, but ultimately, it's in a lot of people's households. It is the internet for the most part. I have Xfinity. So many people I know have Xfinity. They're just a juggernaut, even though they haven't really been providing a good realized or unrealized gain. They do provide a dividend, and they are, like I said, a juggernaut. I don't see them going away anytime soon, at least for now. Alrighty, and now moving forward still into more of the statistical portion of my dividend portfolio. I don't know why the graph doesn't show up anymore. Maybe it's a little bug that goes on in M1 Finance. At the very beginning, it used to show it. I don't know if it's because my portfolio was smaller and it's bigger now, so it's harder to calculate automatically. I'm not too sure. But regardless, let's get into some of the actual good stats here. So as you can see, I do hold 51 stocks in my portfolio. Why 51? Well, for me, I've had 51 since the beginning. Every time I get to this point in each milestone video, I always share it the same way. It's kind of like when you're younger and you know you're going to grow into a bigger pair of shoes. That's pretty much how I view this portfolio. I see this portfolio one day being a multi-million-dollar portfolio, and I hope to never sell. So what did I do? I made sure I had the holdings that I wanted right from the beginning, and all I'm doing is funneling into this portfolio the funds. Kind of like planting a tree, right? A baby redwood. You know it's going to grow into a huge, huge tree. And yeah, necessarily you don't want to pot it in a huge pot, but you could pot it into the ground. And because it's in the ground, it has so much space to grow. And that's kind of like the same idea with this portfolio. It's going to get big one day, so might as well just start with the amount of holdings that I wanted right from the beginning. And as you can see, just hopping over here to the next stat, you can see my current dividend yield. It's at 2.85%, and it's kind of just about, I guess, right where I want it to be. I like to be between 2.6 and maybe 3.1 or 3.2 dividend yield. So I'm kind of like right in the middle. And this fluctuates when my portfolio gets hit heavy and I'm realizing more of a loss. This dividend yield actually increases. When my portfolio is actually doing better, there's more unrealized gain, it actually decreases. So it's interesting as well. But regardless, as of right now, today, 2.8, 2.9, I'll take it. And that's for my expense ratio if you're curious, because M1 does calculate it for us. It's 0.02%. And what I always say here is I don't like giving away any more money than I don't need to. Than I need to? How do you say it? Oh well, you get the gist. And now back to the portfolio. But ultimately, it's just to show you now on the application that I do use to track my dividends. And it's called the Div Tracker app. I just get it from the Apple Store. I did pay for it up front. I don't remember exactly how much it was, but it wasn't very expensive. It was just a couple dollars, I think. And I think it's on a yearly basis that I continue to pay for the subscription. But I believe it's under 10, maybe closer to 5, but it's definitely worth it. You do have to put everything in manually, but for a lot of these div trackers, you do have to do that anyway. So in that sense, not much changes. But before we get into this annual dividend income slide here, I just want to show you that here on my dividend portfolio, you can see the same amount of $60,000, $110.56. I said that all weird. $60,110.56. There we go. Made me feel weird to say it that way. But as you can see, it's still the same amount for the most part, roughly give or take a little bit. The $4,190.09 is actually, if we go back to the holdings here, you can see unrealized gain, $4,189.86. So for the most part, it's pretty accurate. And also, before I further continue, I just want to mention I'm not affiliated with this app. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, but it's just one that I've used from the beginning. I actually pay for it and everything. But if you look here at the composition, you can see VIG is 10.4% of my portfolio, followed by SPYD, which is true. They were both 10% each, or approximately 10% each. And then after that, it dips. It goes to O as my next biggest holding at 3.1%. And from then on, everything is under 3%. And that's how I like my portfolio. I don't want anything to be more than 3%, definitely not more than 4% or 5%. I want to be well diversified. And so far to this point, it's actually been quite beneficial. But going back to the homepage here, my annual dividend income for a $60,000 dividend portfolio, as you sneak peeked earlier, it's $1,712.51. And if you break it down to a monthly, it's $142, which is pretty significant. That's a bill for something. That's about 2 weeks of gas, depends what car you drive. But it's definitely noticeable. Maybe one round of groceries. That's good. And as for daily, we get $4.69 on the daily basis. And then actually here it says my yield is 3.06%. So if you've seen these videos before, I always say it's possibly somewhere in the middle. I think M1 is probably more accurate with their calculation, but anywhere between 2.8%, 3.0% dividend yield, regardless of it, anywhere in between there, I'm totally happy with. And then just scrolling down further, you can see my annual dividend income goal. My next goal is to reach $2,000. I'm about 86% reached, and it says if I invest $9,000, approximately $9,000, at my current portfolio's yield, I will reach this goal here pretty soon. It looks like I may be reaching the $2,000 mark at approximately the same time. I'll be hitting $70,000, give or take how the markets go. But that's going to be it for this week's video. A little bit more of a technical, a little bit more of a statistical style video, a little bit of a longer video for sure. But I hope you were able to hang in there as we got into the nitty gritty here. And these are kind of how my milestone videos always typically go. They're a little bit more in depth, a little bit more into the financial sphere. I know a lot of my videos often are more motivational, and I get that. But I do enjoy that. This whole process is so long. This journey is so long. If all we do is focus on the money, on the money, on the money, it's going to be a longer road. Might as well make this one of the pillars on our journey through this life, in addition to being the best person that we can be in so many other areas. Have that whole thing be the goal. That's my belief, at least. But anyways, with that ramble out the way, if you made it to this point in the video, thank you. Thank you, thank you. This journey won't be stopping anytime soon. And just as we made it through 7 days, we have a high chance of making it through another 7. And as always, I will be here. And as always, I'll see you then. Take care.